A KTP is a knowledge transfer partnership, and that's a partnership between a business that has a challenge or an opportunity that they want to exploit, but they don't have the knowledge in-house, and therefore they work with a university in order to access the academic expertise that they need to capitalise on that opportunity.
This KTP project was really interesting because it traced carbon from farm systems through the Lake District farmers through to the final consumers of the food. And the final consumers of the food are really interested in their carbon footprint, and they're looking up the supply chain, and there ultimately are the farmers.
We started to look quite intently at our sustainability approach as a company, and we are butchers, so we need a helping hand because we know what good meat is, and we know what good farming probably looks like, but we needed someone to help us to understand exactly what our impact on the environment is and what kind of baseline that we need to kind of understand that. So that's why we chose to work with an academic institution, because we believed that they had the unbiased outlook on what we were trying to achieve, whereas I think a consultant probably would tell you what you wanted to hear. So they challenged us and has helped us to force a lot of change within the company and the structure of how we operate. And the knowledge transfer partnership is a good way of doing that, because as well as us learning from them, they're learning from us as well. The meat industry is a closed door, so to find a company like us, I guess, for them is probably quite useful.
So the KTP is really interesting because it funds a KTP associate, and in this case we had somebody who was able to sit between the academics and industry, was able to speak both the language of the academics but also understand how that fitted with the challenges which were facing our industry partners, and so to translate our knowledge and make it useful for the industry partners to then act on. So what we were trying to do was to find ways of reducing the carbon emissions from the kind of livestock business that LDF run. And my particular role was in working with the KTP associate, which was Laura Giles, looking at the stocks of carbon in soils on the farms that were supplying Lake District farmers with their meat, with the idea of how we might be able to increase those carbon stocks and reduce the overall emissions of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere.
So we were looking at, from the ground up, literally the soil, through to the end product of the meat. So we started off with looking at the carbon stocks that are held in the soil in these upland areas, and then from that data that we gathered, we looked at what those carbon stores might look like in the future. So under different modelling scenarios, we simulated how those stocks would change, and then we integrated that data into a carbon accounting framework for the farms, so that the Lake District farmers would then have an overall result of just what the impact of that meat production was.
The project name kind of gives you the idea of what the aim was for the project, which is towards net zero meat production. So it's putting us on the pathway towards net zero, to look at the emissions that we're creating at farm level, which are a huge part of Lake District farmers' Scope 3 emissions. So we've calculated our Scopes 1 and 2, which are fairly easy to do because you control them, either through invoicing or whatever. Scope 3 is everything else, and the bulk of our carbon will probably sit at farm level. So it was understanding that.
There were 3 work streams in this project, so we divided up into thirds. So the first work stream was very much the field work, the hands-on, going out into the farms, meeting the farms, gathering the soil samples and doing the lab work with that. And then the second phase was to do the modelling. So with that data we'd already collected, we used that to validate the work of the simulations that the model was creating in terms of what carbon accounts would look like in the future. And then the third and final phase was bringing all of that together, but into a carbon accounting framework. So we ran a workshop that brought stakeholders together, both from in Lancaster and other institutions, and also corporate clients and farmers and farm advisory bodies as well, to help with that process of understanding carbon accounts on farms. How do we communicate that, what the opportunities are, what the barriers might be to supporting farms in transitioning more to net zero production. So that, yeah, there were those three main work programmes.
The associate, Dr. Laura Giles, was kind of nothing short of a miracle that we found her. She's got a brilliant understanding of the etymology of the Lake District. She's a big fell walker. She understood where quite a number of the farms that we already worked with, even before she knew that we worked with them, were. So she understood the terrain that we were trying to operate in. She's done a lot of work around carbon calculations, which was something that we needed to do as part of the work. But she's got a very strong thirst for knowledge, which is when you're trying to do something like this, where you're talking amongst many different types of disciplines: butchery, farming, different academia, soil science, sustainability science, economic science. You need, if you find someone that is thirsty for all that knowledge, to understand the language that we're all speaking, then I think that's why she's done so well in this project.
My learning was about the interdisciplinary nature of some of these questions. So in carbon accounting, we're always just doing, what energy did you burn, how far did you drive, etc., etc. So we're getting basically the flows of carbon. But working with the soil scientists and the KTP, I came to better understand the stocks of carbon in the soil are perhaps the most important and interesting part of the conversation. And that's not within carbon accounting, because my level of carbon accounting, we don't do stocks, we just do flows. Linking those stocks together has been a really important outcome for us.
One of the things that hit us hard was finally understanding just how much carbon is being stored currently in the soils on the 4 case study farms that we did in Lake District Farmers Farming Network. The network's around about 50 farms. We did it on 4, and you're talking tens of thousands of tons of carbon stored in the soil on these farms. And that's a huge responsibility for us as a company, because if we make a decision in the boardroom to, let's say, increase numbers, and we go back to our farms and say, right, you have to produce this amount of meat by this date or else, they might turn around to us and say, well, we can't do that. Or they might turn around to us and say, that's no problem, leave it with us. And then they start ploughing fields and releasing all that carbon that we've stored. And that will be, you've got the attributional wise, we need to grow as a company. Consequence of some decisions that we can make could effectively turn that carbon storage into a carbon emission. So it's vital we got our heads around that to begin with. And that's the baseline of all our sustainability strategy.
There were many questions left from the KTP, as you could imagine. And so one of the questions is about what kind of claims people might make about Lake District farmers' meat, and making sure those claims are robust. So this is an area of future work which we're already starting to scope out, because it was a question that we didn't anticipate, but one that was certainly prompted by the KTP.
So I think this is super valuable for the university, working with a business like Lake District Farmers in a KTP, because part of what universities are about is about trying to be a force for good in the world. And by working with Lake District Farmers, we're trying to explore new ways to move towards net zero. That's really important in tackling the climate crisis, and what could be a better force for good than that.
This project has opened the doors to Lake District Farmers to many different things, many different ways of thinking, not just within soil science, but in the wider understanding of what sustainability within the meat industry actually is. And through that, we have made some great connections at various departments within the university. We will be carrying on various projects with the university. We might well look at bringing in some of our customers to work alongside us, to become almost like collaborators. There's a lot to do, and it has definitely opened our eyes, given us a lot of hope, and working with this university, the support network is fantastic, not just with the academic staff, but also the office staff as well. The administrative staff have been some of the best I've ever seen in any organisation or company. So I feel very confident when we're looking at taking the work that we've done, elevating it, looking at other options. I feel comfortable and confident that, you know, working with Lancaster University, it's going to work. It's going to be a benefit to us, our farmers, and our customers ultimately.